Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the Christopher B. Smith Rafael Film Center. I'm Richard Peterson, Director of Programming, and glad to see a nice crowd here for our special program presentation of Love Thy Nature. The film is currently playing at the Vogue Theater in San Francisco through Thursday, so please tell your friends about it. We run this particular event, which is co-presented by Bioneers, is in anticipation of Earth Day, which of course is this Wednesday. We run a lot of independent films here at the Rafael, and this Friday we're opening States of Grace. You're actually going to see a preview for it right before the feature. But this Friday night, the whole gang will be here, Grace, Fu, and the filmmakers, and so we hope you'll be able to join us for that presentation. It's my pleasure to introduce the filmmaker of Love Thy Nature, documentary filmmaker for many years, Emmy nominated. Please welcome Sylvie Rokab.
Thank you so much, Richard and Dan, for allowing us to be here today. This is a really exciting time for us. It marks the end of an 8-year-long production journey and the beginning of a new one, the one of taking this film into the world. And you happen to be among our first audiences, so thank you for taking time off of your crazy busy schedules to be here today. I would love to acknowledge our partnering organization, Bioneers. Bioneers has been an inspiration to me. Yep, exactly. So grateful for Bioneers for many reasons. One of them is the fact that when I was just coming up with the idea of Love Thy Nature, I went to a Bioneers conference and met some of the most amazing thinkers of our time. Some of them are here today, and we're going to have a panel discussion with Swimme and Jay Harman, who are two of my favorite people. So they're sitting here in the audience somewhere. But also, at this point, I would like to invite Dorothée to talk about Bioneers Conference, because it's really, if you haven't been to one, you're really up for a treat.
Thank you so much, Sylvie. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited for you to see this beautiful film, and I just want to invite each and every one of you to the Bioneers Conference this October 16th through 18th. It's right here in San Rafael at the Civic Center. And tonight, because you are such an incredibly special audience, we are offering a $25 off discount to our already early bird ticket. So it's basically the cheapest ticket that will be offered this year. So I encourage you to use the discount code, which is Love Thy Nature. And it's only going to be good until midnight tonight. So go back home, log into conference.bioneers.org, and I have some postcards with stickers that have instructions as well, if that's too much for now. But enjoy. Thank you.
So I'll be really brief, because I know you all want to watch the film. But after the film is over, don't leave. We have this great panel discussion I was just telling you about. We're also going to open up to Q&A. I do have a gift for you all. Some of the most beautiful scenes of the film were captured in stills, and we created screensavers because we wanted to give each audience member a gift, and so you can download the screensavers on your computers. We're going to be passing some clipboards around so we can get your information, and either Mac or PC, you can download it to your computer. So other than that, turn off your cell phones. No recording is allowed. And sit back, relax, and enjoy. Love Thy Nature.
And our guests, Jay Harman and Swimme.
Thank you, folks. I would also like to acknowledge some special folks in the audience. I'm wondering if Duane Elgin might be here today.
Right there. Duane.
Duane, can I see you? Can you please stand up? Just acknowledging Duane for his amazing participation on the film. So grateful. And thank you for coming. Yeah. And I know Alex Zafiris is here, maybe? Oh, right here with her baby. Yes. Alex, thank you so much. She was also, as you might remember, the MD on the film, Integrative Medicine. And there's some other folks here today that might have been on the film. I heard that we would have a few of the folks who are on screen. Can you stand up? Can we see you? Just acknowledge you as your participation. Somebody? Yes. All right. Martha is here. Fantastic. Thank you. Yes. All right. You know, Hillary Clinton once said that it takes a village to raise a child, and I like to say that it takes a village to make a movie. So very grateful for everybody who participated in these two amazing thinkers. What an honor to be sitting here with you today.
No, it's just the opposite. The honor is right here, Sylvie, right here.
Likewise.
Thank you, thank you. So I want to give you guys a little bit of an introduction so you have a sense of who they are besides just the two words they were on the film. So Brian Swimme, sitting next to me, Brian received his PhD in mathematics at the University of Oregon for work in gravitational dynamics. He teaches at CIIS and brings the context of story to our understanding of the 14 billion year journey of the universe. Such a story, he feels, will assist in the emergence of a flourishing Earth community. And next to him is Jay Harman, described as a visionary and futurist by the Science Channel. Jay's expertise couldn't be more timely today. An award-winning entrepreneur, biomimetic inventor, and author, Jay has taken a hands-on approach to his lifelong fascination with the deep patterns found in nature. So I'm going to start with you. I have a question for Jay. There's the scene on the film, you know, where Liam Neeson's character, Sapiens, is basically saying biomimicry is still far from being an everyday reality. And on the film, visually, just to remind you, those little seedlings are crackling through the ground. And then he goes on to say, but I'm starting to realize that there's a potential for a new technological era inspired by nature. And in the film, we refer to it as the biological revolution. Some folks, when I talk to folks about this, they kind of cringe, you know, with the whole thing around GMOs and, you know, I mean, you can do biomimicry with anything, with creation of a torpedo or whatnot. So my question is a bit twofold. It's, one of them is, where are we at in terms of this biological revolution? Are we at the seedling stage? Or we certainly are not in the stage of an old growth forest, but where are we at, and how could we, or you know, what can be done to ensure that this revolution is done in an ethical way, because the dangers could be enormous?
Well, biomimicry is really, as it sounds, looking to nature for inspiration, and inspiration for creating a sustainable future, for solving the problems that we're facing as a species. And nature has already solved every challenge we have, and it's solved it in thousands, if not millions of ways with millions of species. And the one thing about nature, and probably the biggest lesson we can take from nature, is nature always creates the conditions for life. It takes life, but it creates life when it takes life. So if we're true to that form, if we go to the highest levels of biomimicry, any technologies we develop through natural inspiration will create the conditions conducive to life. So right there, I think the ethical question is answered, because we're adopting the ethics of nature. Now, modern biomimicry really has only started in the last 15 years. Janine Banyas coined the word with her book, Biomimicry. But, you know, as a species, we've been copying nature since time began in all sorts of ways. Aboriginal boomerang is a copy of a bird's wing, an extremely good copy of a bird's wing. There are many, many examples of biomimicry through history. But as a modern discipline, it's been happening for the last 15 or a little bit longer years. And what I've seen personally, because I'm fully engaged in biomimetic practice, in reverse engineering natural systems to try and create more energy efficient and more benign technologies, what I've seen is that there's been an absolute explosion of interest and initiatives happening around the world, whereas 15 years ago, I met and knew maybe a half a dozen other people in the world that would be defined as biomimics. Now I know of more than 2,000 different initiatives. And biomimicry is one term, but there are lots of terms in other countries as well. Bioinspiration is just another one. If you go to Germany, they don't really use the word biomimicry very much. But Germany is a world leader in bioinspiration. So there are thousands of initiatives happening, and there are some extraordinary stories, really remarkable. And anybody that wants to see what's happening, go to asknature.org, right? So we'll just look up biomimicry. There are so many inspirational stories out there, and it's an avalanche that's coming, an incredibly positive future we're looking at. The Point Loma Nazarene University has been looking at the growth of biomimicry and has been predicting where it's going to. And they've, over several years, come up with the assessment that there'll be more than $1 trillion of GDP created by biomimetic technologies in the next 12 years. Wow. In the next 25 years, there'll be much more than $3 trillion worth. Now, why is that? Well, biomimetic practices do a couple of very important things in a world run by corporations. One is, if you're really true to the principles, you can greatly limit liabilities that companies face through toxins that are created or pharmaceuticals that have side effects or negative effects of oil spills, etc. If you're really, really tuning into biomimetic practices, you can eliminate much of that liability, if not all of it. That's a big imperative. But the other thing is that nature is much more efficient at doing things than we are. So the area I'm working in is in energy reduction. And if you look at any natural system, the human heart, for instance, is much more efficient than any pump that humans have made, the human cardiovascular system. Extraordinarily efficient. If we reverse engineer that and start to replace our human-designed pumps and fans and other technologies we have, collectively we estimate that humanity could reduce its dependence on energy by at least half, and fairly quickly. So many of the secrets have already been discovered, and there are a lot more to be discovered. And there's an incredible movement right now in this direction. China and India are opening research facilities everywhere and schools at universities. They're jumping on this bandwagon as fast as they can. Germany, Scandinavia, Australia, the United States. This is very exciting times.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing, Jay. So Brian.
Sylvie.
Brian, you have been like such a revolutionary mind in the sense that very early on, in the old days, scientific thought and spirituality were in two opposite ends of a spectrum of thought. And you were very brave in terms of actually even indicating that there could be some kind of heart, so to speak, to the cosmos. You wrote a beautiful book called The Hidden Heart of the Cosmos. And I'm wondering, nowadays, has the scientific community accepted, or maybe just like, is open to accepting the idea that there's a mystical dimension that science or our brains are not capable of accessing?
You mean, is there a consensus?
No, not a consensus, but like, has it changed at all from the time, if you think of it like, maybe 30 years ago or 40 years ago, I mean, even the term like the Gaia hypothesis would be laughed at. I mean, scientists used to be a lot more black and white, maybe. I'm wondering if scientists today could be more in general, are they a little more open to exploring the idea that there is, you know, a spiritual component or a mystical element to the universe?
I guess I have two responses.
Okay.
Two. First is the like the most intelligent and sensitive scientists are.
The true
He's
scientist.
very modest, right?
The true scientists, yes, the ones that are with it. Then there's the rear guard. Okay, very strong. Duane right now is staging an ongoing battle with the hidebound.
That's right.
The fight is, the question is this: is the universe alive?
Right.
And my conclusion is we should have a conference and invite all of the really intense mechanistic scientists and have them watch Love Thy Nature. I'm
I would
totally
love
serious.
that. Let's
Totally
do it.
serious.
Let's do it.
No, I mean, this is what sort of poured over me as I was watching it, Sylvie, was that a person can go through a deep change in consciousness, the beauty that you poured out, and of course all of the, the brilliant ideas and so forth, but wrapped up inside the beauty that just came pouring out. It's just so beautiful.
Thank
And
you. I admit I wanted it to be seductive.
You completely succeeded. Completely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm honored, and I give a lot of credit to my team. I had a really amazing group of people helping me to do that. But yeah, thank you.
I have one criticism, and that is when you list all of the properties of biomimicry,
Okay.
you didn't list devoting 10 years of a person's life to making a beautiful film about Love Thy Nature. That was so clearly
Thank
missing.
you so much.
Thank
so
you.
kind of you.
It's going to change the world. I mean, if we can just bring it into places where people can really drink it in, I could just feel the room. I could feel, am I the only one that was changed by the film? Okay. So
That's wonderful.
congratulations.
Thank you. And I'll be glad to talk about, we're doing it the biomimetic way, I guess, if you can say that, in terms of film distribution from the ground up. And so we're being a little revolutionary a little bit in terms of distributing the film too. But I can talk about that later if we have time.
Fantastic. Well, I just know that people want to interact with you, so Sylvie.
Sure. Well, I think people want to interact with all of us, and I'm also feeling inspired by the idea of having Duane say something too, since he's here in the audience. If you would like to, share something with us in terms of the living universe, because I know how passionate you are about this. And I want somebody to keep us on track in terms of time. Matt, can I count on you on this? Okay.
I'll do that.
Great, excellent.
Look at
So
the
I do wanna
bruises and the
have-
cuts. He's endured fighting the good fight. Wait.
You do have a watch with me, so that's great.
To answer the question addressed to my dear friend Brian, is the universe alive? Is the universe alive? Yes. We're learning to live in a living universe. I think that's what we're here for. We're learning to live in a living universe. And it isn't simply the Earth is alive, it's the entire universe is a single living system. And that requires us to reach deep within our own knowing, to connect with the deep knowing, the intelligence that has given birth to this living system, the living universe of which we're an intimate part. Thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you, Duane.
Should we take some questions or
Sure.
comments from the audience? I
Absolutely.
will be repeating the questions because we're recording this and the camera doesn't hear your questions. Yes.
I want to thank you for this beautiful and inspiring movie, and for me personally,
My
the
pleasure.
timing of it is really unbelievable because I just listened to, in the last 3 days, I listened to an hour, a couple of hours of information about climate engineering, and I was kind of like freaked out because people were very knowledgeable and authoritative, they knew a lot of what they were talking about, and they were giving the Earth and us until about 2040 before there's going to be major cataclysmic changes to the Earth that are going to be irreversible due to the climate engineering projects and things that are going on about that. Now, you touched upon it in the movie, and I just want to know what you think about that. And again, thank you for the contrast, because this was inspiring in terms of something
My pleasure.
to do and be and live and feel, returning to nature as an ultimate healing force and transformation force. These people, these scientists that I listened to about climate engineering, freaked the shit out of me. I mean, like, it was like, this is really bad stuff.
Yeah.
This is major, major stuff. So,
Yeah, you know,
It was
it's-
about the climate engineering and the, I guess, impending catastrophe that's been predicted with.
You know, yeah, it's easy nowadays to be very pessimistic because we are facing, you know, in a way, it's somebody put it in a way that I thought was brilliant. It's kind of like we're on the Titanic, and we see that an iceberg is ahead of us, and the way that our civilization has been behaving, it's kind of like, you know, let's go towards it full speed because we want to take advantage of whatever is available here today. You know, I think when I look at history, I have a lot of hope because I realize that it certainly takes a mass mind change to be able to change from one era to another. When you look back, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that, you know, women didn't have the right to vote. It wasn't that long ago that people were enslaved because of the color of their skin. It wasn't that long ago, I mean, you'd say 3,000 years in terms of Earth's history. It's not that long ago that we had a civilization that believed that the only way to be in the world is to be barbarian, and that individual freedom was revolutionary. The Greeks came up with a revolutionary idea of, you know, individual freedom and individual thought, and democracy was born at that time, but it was absurd. The leaders at the time thought that it would be complete chaos to have a society be democratic. We're at a place today that many people, many scientists, people are good thinkers are realizing that we're really in trouble. So the shift is going to have to happen. The question is, how fast is it going to happen? And I feel that the moment that the shift occurs, and it's starting to occur, it's going to be incredibly fast. We might have to have lots of pain. We might already have a ton of, you know, issues of deforestation and, you know, the Antarctica and the North Pole melting. We might have some serious issues happening, and, you know, I don't know that we're going to be able to shift, you know, fast enough before we have some major crises, more than the ones that are already happening now, with the, you know, the drought everywhere and all of the issues that I think everybody's aware of today. But when we do change our minds, the potential is staggering. Jay was just talking about this, right? We can create a new, not just a technological era, but an entire new economic era. Imagine if all of the people were into, you know, focused into how do we make our planet sustainable? How do we create communities where we actually have organic farming? How do we have all these solar panels and the wind turbines? And, you know, I mean, it's incredible if we were to actually support the creation of jobs in these areas. There's no price to nature. I mean, I would love for you guys to, you know, add to this.
Well, the answers are there. And, you know, Paul Hawken says of us that our intelligence is nature's immune response system to the crisis we've created. If you look at Europe after the Second World War, when it was completely decimated, humans built it up again almost overnight in historic terms. And Japan, same thing. We're immensely capable, and we're learning so much more. We have so many more tools today to reverse engineer how nature solves problems. Nature's already solved these problems. We just need to learn them. We need the will. Unfortunately, we don't seem to change unless there's crisis. Crisis brings change. So there's not enough pain yet. So there's going to be more pain, clearly, because we are on a trajectory that is going to be painful and more painful. But at some point, I think the solutions will definitely overtake the problems that we're facing right now, and we'll invent some more problems.
Yes.
Yes?
I was born before the start of the Second World War in 1939. In my lifetime, the population of the world is about triple. I see no end to that or slowing down. I think the end of cities in the world would make life on the earth much harder. I'm unusual because I use 3 gallons of water a day. I live on my own boat. I've sailed across the ocean. I've been to Alaska to the Alaska. I don't have electricity, don't have a TV set. I make what electricity I need around a computer and phone. I'm not a big user of the earth, and yet all around me, all of us are using much more than we can in the religion, the population, the politics, and the social organization of the earth, and is a disaster. And at the end of the Second World War, we're going to destroy a whole city all in one little airplane. This is not good.
But you're such a great example of how things are changing. I mean, what an inspiration. I mean, that we have a way to be. You're bringing it forth. The like solar panels. Roughly 70% of the solar panels that have ever been sold in the United States were sold in the last 2 years. See, like so it's not coming from the government, right? They went to law school. That's a problem, you know. So, but it's coming from so many different directions, as Sylvie points out. Here's one more for you. The common, backing up your point, the common religion of our time is economics, and the idea is that we have to have the oil. We have to, because this is our economy depends upon it, and more use of oil increases the economy. Germany has the most impressive economy around. And there was a day last year when they didn't use any energy from oil compared to what they were generating from alternative sources. So here's an economy doing really well, and it's moving towards.
Off the Greeks they are. They're extorting from the Greeks.
So now we get into politics. Sylvie.
And certainly in American politics, we have many
Somebody's
politicians who don't
very
even believe in science. So
Passionately
that's
waving her hands.
Yes,
That's usually the
okay.
person we want to pick. Yeah. Go for it.
Thank you very much for the film.
My pleasure.
This reminds me of Duane Ackerman's recent book, The Human Age, The World Shaped by Us, which has a lot of problems that have impacted and a lot of solutions that are coming forward. And what she says is, our mistakes are imaginations are limitless. And that's what you're showing us in the film.
Thank
Just
you.
quoting Diane Ackerman. Yes.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
In regards to the statement of the universe being a flat, I'd like to hear the panel's definition of life.
A definition of life in regard to the universe being.
Duane, come on, you're like a panel member. Get up here. No, seriously.
Or-
All right. Well, it's a great question. And one way to say it is that the phrase I like to use is the universe is life-generating. Life-generating. And so see, if we imagine, like we did for a long time, the life on our planet was just sort of an accident, sort of accident, and then the typical line from philosophers and so forth is, we have life here in an alien universe, cold, hostile, and all the rest of it, so that life is seen as like an absurdity, in a sense, compared to the universe as a whole. But now we're starting to, that was before we really knew about the way in which the universe evolved. So the one of the most stunning facts is that the universe came forth. Okay, the universe 14 billion years ago was smaller than the head of this microphone. 14 billion years ago, the universe was smaller than the head of this microphone. And now it's 1 trillion galaxies. Right, well, you know, try to take that one in. It's going to take a couple centuries. Minimum a couple centuries before we get that one. Smaller than the head of a microphone, becomes 1 trillion galaxies. That's a very, very bizarre fact. So here's the next one, though. And this is from Stephen Hawking, the greatest cosmologist on the planet. The universe expanded in a way that if you altered it just slightly, there would be no life. Slight. A trillionth of a degree, altered a trillionth of a degree at the beginning, there would never be life in the universe. So Freeman Dyson, one of the greatest physicists of our time, he said simply this: the more I study the fundamental architecture of the universe, the more I realize that from the beginning, it must have known life was coming.
Wow.
It, meaning the universe, must have known, right, whoa, life was coming. All right, like, whoa, I mean, like, we are out of the modern period, all right? And what we do when we get out of the modern period and realize is, okay, we go to biomimicry, you see, because it is more intelligent than we are. That's what it means to be alive.
Yes.
Fascinating
Yes.
answer.
So, my son who's 11 and a half wants to know what can we do to help?
What
Wow.
can you do to help?
Great. That's a great question, and I love having young kids in the audience. I'll start with this one because I usually tell folks there's so many ways everything that we do every day can be helpful. Even talking about it, I think, is mind expanding. But, you know, one of the slates on the film is a little shopping cart. You know, one of the things that I think it's so simple to do is to make sure that we buy products from companies that are conscious. We have ways to do that. I mean, obviously in California, saving water. I mean, there's so many ways to help. Why don't you guys want to jump in and offer some?
Well, just from biomimicry, which for me is the future for all of our kids. Yeah, what's your name? Aiden. Hi, Aiden. If you touch the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you probably feel some ridges there, right? Any idea what that's for? Because nature doesn't invest in accidents, and we've all got them, right? When you're running across the Serengeti and you've got a lion after you, and you're breathing in and out of your mouth as hard as you can because you need oxygen for your muscles, those ridges actually trip the airflow and make it much more efficient in getting air in and out, right? It cuts drag. So imagine what you could use those ripples for. So we're surrounded by nature. Spend as much time as you can in nature. We all love it, right? We go to the beach for holidays, we go to the river or parks or whatever. Just spend as much time as you can in nature, and look, every single thing in nature can teach us something new. By the way, the only trouble with these ridges in the roof of our mouth is that the lions developed them too.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, ask your opinion. With 7 billion people on Earth, all needing resources, we can look back in history when we didn't have as many people as before, but we need to be conscious that there are 7 billion plus people all needing and wanting the resources on Earth. And even though we have great solutions, it might be too little too late.
The question or the comment was about being so many billions of people on Earth and all needing resources. Is it too little, too late?
Just a personal thought on that is that statisticians are thinking that we're probably going to level out somewhere around $8 or $9 billion, and there's a whole lot of reasons for thinking that. Now, and then you'll hear people say, well, we need 3 planets worth of resources if we're going to elevate everybody to the standard that we're in right now. But we waste an enormous amount. We're incredibly wasteful. Do you know when we pull carbon out of the ground and convert it into energy that we use, we're actually 1% efficient. 99% of that energy that we're extracting is wasted. Nature doesn't waste that. Nothing like that. So we need to get smarter. And probably everybody here knows or has heard that if we're all vegetarians, we could feed the earth very easily, right? Now, I'm not making any moral judgment on that whatsoever, but there are solutions. So I'm not sure that it's doomsday that we have a large population. Yes, we can see all sorts of problems from having too many people for our present conditions, but if you look at the poverty levels and what's happened to those over the last 50 years, they've been dropping dramatically. You know, China has brought nearly 500 million people out of poverty in the last 30 years. It's extraordinary. If you start looking at the statistics, we're getting much better at feeding and taking care of people. We just have to get a lot more clever, quickly.
I'm going to be very brief, but I just want to share something with you. Excuse me. I used to be extremely concerned about population control until we did our shoot in Namibia for the African animals. We drove for days and days and days and days and days, and we would not see a soul. We went through an area that I was actually concerned because it was baboon territory, and they are known for being aggressive, and we were going into their territory. It just kind of made me realize it's like we have areas on the planet that are so vast and uninhabited. It's really about how we live, a lot more than how many we are on the planet. So I just wanted to share this personal experience because after that trip, I wasn't as concerned about the number of us. I was more concerned about what we do.
Woman over there, yes. How the Earth impacts the universe? Is the question?
Well, the first part of the question was, can I speak to that? I can answer that part. Not really. I mean, but there are some fantasies that I like. Here's one of them, a total fantasy, and that is two parts. One is, the whole universe is not only alive, it's also intelligent, and all of the other intelligent beings are watching us and waiting to see if intelligent life will appear within humanity. And when it does, they'll show up. Okay, that's the first part. I like that fantasy, right? They're all just waiting in the wings for us, waiting. But the other thing I like about our responsibility, what if this is the only living planet in 1 trillion galaxies? What if? Then in a certain sense, it's like the entire universe is kind of hoping that we'll come through. And so like another question an answer for Aidan, and this also showed up in Sylvie's list of the biomimicry. It's like one of the greatest things we can do is to become astonished by the beauty of Earth. And just realize no matter what you're seeing, you can just look at it and you go, wow, there may not be another one of these anywhere in the nearest 1 trillion galaxies, Could be your mom, right? But just the uniqueness, the power of this place, so overwhelming.
It really is. I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, it is the beginning. We're making the beginning right here, right now.
Nice.
So,
I just wanted to share a word with you that I heard that I think is great. That we could all be, instead of revolutionary, kind of revolve around and often get shot, we can be solutionaries.
Okay.
Isn't that a great word?
Yeah.
I love that.
Solutionaries instead of revolutionaries.
And you asked me to share it.
Very nice.
That's very good. Yes, absolutely.
So I would just like your beautiful film, and I would like
Thank
to
you.
do whether or not you endorse the statement that ultimately nature is indestructible.
That's a survivor, yeah.
Ultimately, nature is indestructible.
Well, I always love to see, when you're driving like on the highway and you see this like ocean of concrete and there's this little seedling that's like finding its way through. I mean, there's no question in anybody's mind that nature will restore itself, that we'll find new ways, inventive ways, and it's done it before, right? At
It's just a
the
matter
time
of
of the
whether we get to
dinosaurs.
participate.
Right, exactly.
Hope it's
That's
not an
exactly the
extreme
question.
test, yes.
Are we going to be around, and how many of us will make it? Somebody all the way in the end.
Hi, Sylvie.
Hi.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Now that the film is over, how are you reacting to the response to the film across the globe? And if there was another message or two that you want to share in the film, did you miss it, or is there something else that you want to take to the next level now that the film is out?
I think I missed a word on your first
I wasn't
question.
I didn't quite understand the first part of the question.
How are you responding to the messages across the globe now that the film is out?
In terms of audience responses?
And it's cross-cultural.
Yes, now I get what you're saying. Absolutely. It's been incredibly exciting to realize that people across the world are really getting very inspired and touched by the message. And, you know, obviously I made a point when I was creating the film to try to be as inclusive as possible in terms of skin colors and ethnicities and ecosystems even. But you know, I'm also realizing that the young people are also getting it. We had 5- and 6-year-olds who watched the film and were glued to the screen. I also showed the film to 2 different theaters that were filled with teenagers. They were like high schoolers, and the first time around I felt like killing them because the first 5 minutes they're all texting and like chatting with each other and like, you know, pushing and laughing and making all these noises. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. After 5 minutes, you know that scene of like that, I call it the cyber kids scene, where it's like they're all on their computers and their digital devices and like killing and, you know, this whole excitement of like exploding stuff and everything. At that moment, it's like if it wasn't for the sound of the movie, you could hear a pin drop. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad. And they were really quiet all the way through the end. So it's reaching people across generations. It's reaching people across cultures. And that's why we decided to really go grassroots. I mean, my hope, we signed up with a company called Tug, and Tug.com, Tugg, and they're pretty revolutionary in the sense that they are encouraging the idea that everybody has heard the word video on demand, right? We're doing this theatrical on demand, which means anybody who wants to bring the film to a theater near them, or to a community near them, or to a yoga studio near them, or whatever, they can bring the film. So we're really doing it grassroots, and you know, we're actually spreading the word with audiences like you to say, help us spread the word, because the way that we feel this film needs to be distributed is not by handing it over to some distributor who's going to just take it over and maybe butcher the poster into something that they like or whatever. It's more like, you know, doing it really, like I said, grassroots by word of mouth and letting people know and bringing the film to their communities. First in the US, but definitely across the globe, because I think this message is too important to limit it to any particular community. It really needs to be widespread. And people often ask me, what's your next film? What's your next project? Have you started something new yet? Because, you know, filmmakers, we have this tendency of like, we finish something and there we are with our cameras and we're shooting all over again. And I say, wait, my next project is Love Thy Nature. Just really taking it out, so.
Yes.
How can we get Congress to see it?
Oh, yes, that's one of my missions.
Getting Congress.
If you know somebody, or if you know somebody who can, you know, have a lobbyist who can help us bring the film there, that's one of our things on our to-do list, is to find the connection that can open a door in Congress. But yes, actually, my intention has been to try to have it there by Earth Day next year.
Yes.
I'm specifically interested in bringing it into schools. So
Yes.
is there I go to your website, where I find a way?
You know, right now we're doing it with Tug.com, and, you know, Matt Chandler, who is my amazing outreach producer. Are you here, Matt, somewhere? No? Well, he will show up eventually. But Matt has been in charge of helping folks like you to make sure that the film reaches whatever location you need it to be at, and tug.com also is doing that with us. We have a page at Tug right now where the film can be requested. Sure.
Okay. Anything else? Yes.
Yeah, I have a summer camp in Southern Marin, and I actually met Mateo yesterday, and he told me about it. And my first question is, when he invited us to come today, will I leave feeling depressed? Because I don't like to go to movies.
I know
where I'm
a lot of
surrounded
people
with
ask that.
sensation and
Yeah.
feeling, vulnerable and empty and just like I can't do anything.
Right.
But what I really, really loved about this was how uplifted I felt and how much
Good.
I love nature. And I mean, today was great. I was in Old Mill Park today and at Cascade Falls.
Oh,
So just seeing
awesome.
the film was beautiful.
It's beautiful, right?
And just feeling even more appreciative of nature. and
Right.
Earth. It was such a gift.
Thank you so much for saying that.
To my summer camp and show the children, 'cause,
Wonderful.
that's the vision is let's get them outside.
Absolutely, that's the whole idea, and it's so important to get children outside. I mean, it's amazing the science that's behind. Now they're discovering neurologically that they can't develop normally if they are nature deprived. It's huge. I don't know how we're doing on time, but I do have a couple of minutes that I need at the end.
Oh, go ahead.
Is this the right time? So Wallace J. Nichols, I don't know if any of you are familiar with him, but he's another amazing scientist. He came to our screening at the premiere in San Francisco, and he has this project that's called the Blue Marble Project that he did it the other day, and I also love to do it because I think it's so symbolic and it's very much in line with what we're sharing with the film. So I brought a little blue marble here, and basically, blue marble is the name of the most replicated photograph ever. It was taken by Apollo 17 astronauts in 1972, and it was the first time that we ever saw Earth from space. And here, from the distance that I'm holding it, it's about as I'm holding it, it's about 1 million miles away from my eyes, maybe 10 million miles away or 20 million miles away from where you are. But what struck them is that they realized that we're really small, fragile, beautiful, and blue. And when you think of it, it's like every mountain we've ever seen, every river we've ever touched, every ocean, and every continent lie on this little blue marble. Every person we've ever known, every person we've even heard of, every child and everyone we've ever loved, they all come from this little blue marble. So allow gratitude to fill your heart and fill this room and fill your world. And the homework I have for you is take time every day, even if it's just 20 minutes. Take time every week, take a day off. Every month, a weekend away. Every year, at least a week or 2 weeks away. Let yourself connect with nature, whatever it is that you love. Here, you're so lucky. You have these amazing redwood trees, ancient beings. If you like to go hiking, climb a mountain. You have the ocean, it's springtime and it's warmer. Splash yourself in water. Splash somebody with water. Connect. Come alive. Life is too short not to be loved up by nature. My favorite quote in the whole film, it's like my favorite quote ever, I guess. It's from Rumi, the poet from the 11th century. He's a Sufi poet, and it goes like this. Let the beauty of what you love be what you do. There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the earth. And I like to add, with Rumi's permission, there are 1,000,000 ways to be kissed by the earth. Let yourself be kissed. It was an immense pleasure to have you all here today. My goodness, thank you so much to all of my amazing thinkers, Duane too. I know we have to wrap, right? I could stay here forever.
Oh, well, we've got 5 minutes.
Can you
but
guys, oh, we do, so please, I want to pass on.
I don't know if there's, that was a great place
No,
to
no one's
stop.
going to, no, no.
Let me get down after that.
I think we should probably, as she said, it's a very uplifting film, and you've assembled an uplifting panel today, you know, with all the problems that we've given to this earth. I think everyone's very optimistic. And also, we should probably mention that the film is playing at the Vogue Theater through
That's
Thursday.
right. It's at the Vogue
In San
until
Francisco?
the 23rd at night, yeah. And we have several screenings every day. And please tell your friends. We would love to have folks show up.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you all.